Right from our electioneering campaigns, we were very strong, and we are still strong on three things for our constituents. The first one is effective representation. And by effective representation, I mean in every sense of it. If you look at what happened in the 9th Assembly, where very many good legislations were done by the 9th Assembly, paramount is the Petroleum Industrial Bill and even the Electoral Act. If you observe, many of our constituents were not very versed in the details of this legislation. Now they can take advantage of what has been made into law for their betterment as constituents. So it behoves on the representatives to dilute the content of this legislation that has been passed into law for the people to understand and how they can position themselves for their own good. So talking about effective representation, Clement Jimbo is very strong in that. And we have equally experimented that by being one of the very first in Akwa Ibom State. Out of the 10 federal constituencies we have in Akwa Ibom State, I was the very first that moved a motion in the 10th Assembly, and it was seconded and passed by the House. And what was the content of the motion was simply to draw the attention of Nigeria to the deplorable state of a particular community in my local government area, that due to the dredging of a particular river in that community in 2011, that gave way to a whole lot of erosion, that during a rainy season like this, farmlands are completely washed away, houses are submerged. The people that were one time happily inhabiting that community have been completely displaced. So it is my responsibility to bring such plight of my people to the attention of the federal government for a possible intervention. So the second one we are very strong is on what I call responsible leadership. How do I mean by that? Responsible leadership, you will hear a lot of people complain I have been wrongly dismissed, marginalized in all different kinds of sectors. As a representative, it is my responsibility to take this complaint and bring it into the House by way of petition. And the petition committee will now look into the merit of the petition and find a solution to the victims, so to say. Then the third one is, of course, what I call shared prosperity. How do I mean by that? If you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we are all called citizens. We are not called second class. We are not called the masses. We are not called poor Nigerians. We are rated equal by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And by that singular rating, it confers on us the ability to access the very basic amenities that make life comfortable. Right to shelter is there, right to quality life is there. By that I mean right to education, right to Medicare, and right to decent living. So as a representative, it is incumbent on me to make laws available that will make my constituents, and by extension Nigerians, access this shared prosperity. So that is the three things we have promised our people, and that is the three things we are going to deliver to our people.
As someone who actually wanted to step into the executive office years back, and by the grace of the Almighty, you find yourself in the legislature, we want to commend you on the three motions that you've moved and passed by the House recently, and wish you do more. Now we're looking at what do you intend doing that when this becomes law, these three motions that you've moved, you said it has been passed already, and what are you going to do to ensure that they're actually implemented?
Well, of course, the Constitution, in Section 4 of the Constitution 1999, as amended, it clearly defines the role, the responsibility of a legislator. which we are saddled with the responsibility of making laws. And the second is representation. The third one is oversight. So that is our defined roles and boundaries within the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we are equally going to limit ourselves based on these defined roles and boundaries. We are to make laws. The executive is there to implement the laws. And of course, the judiciary is there to interpret the laws. So asking me how we will do or what we will do to make sure what we are doing in the 10th Assembly or any other assembly have a light and our people benefit from it. It's very simple. The executive is there to execute the laws that we are making. Like the motion that I moved is an infrastructural motion. So it's left for the executive to look at it and include it in the 2024 appropriation bill and pass it into law. We will equally pass it into law. Then they select the contractors or whoever that they want to make sure that thing is fixed and our people enjoy it. So there is clear definition, defined roles and responsibility. We will not step into the executive, and I don't expect the executive to step into our own ring, and the judiciary, of course.
The right of the oversight functions
of course
is very unique.
Very well.
That has to be done, my colleague.
Okay, Honorable Sir, currently this issue of subsidy that is ravaging the country has become the talk of the town. So I would like to know what's your take, what's your position? Nigerians are crying. Hardship, hardship, hardship. As a lawmaker, what do you think should be provided to where we find ourselves?
Thank you very much for that very important question. Yes, the president, in his wisdom on the 29th of May, openly declared and announced to the entire world that the subsidy that has been with us for about over 10 years was no longer visible, was no longer possible for the country to sustain the inclusion of subsidy in our petroleum products. And of course, before now, you will know that it is only